Welcome to the Robert Wenzel Show. Please stand by for Robert Wenzel.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Robert Wenzel Show. I'm Robert Wenzel. Today, my guest is Jesse Ventura. He is former independent governor of Minnesota. He's a former U.S. Navy SEAL. And, of course, he was a professional wrestler in various movies. And he is a visiting fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School of Government. He's also a New York Times best-selling author. And he's got a new book out, Democrat and Republican, No More Games in Government. Jesse, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Jesse, we're also going to put a link at my website so everybody can go right to the book and buy it right away, because I tell you, I think it's an awesome book. It's especially good for anybody who's a hardcore Republican or hardcore Democrat or who has friends that are such. You send them this book and hopefully it can open their eyes, because Jesse's done a great job of attempting to do that. It seems you've been successful throughout life, wherever you've been. Navy SEAL, governor, pro wrestler, New York Times best-selling author. Can you give my audience a sense for what's the key to your success? Because a young person out there listening to the show, what would you tell them so that they can achieve half of what you've achieved?
Well, maybe it's that I can't hold a job for over 4 years. No, I don't know. It's just perseverance, believing in yourself and never take no for an answer, I guess in self-confidence and that I can be successful at many different things. I respect people that do one job their whole life. My best friend just retired, and he worked at the same job his whole life. I don't know how many, 35 years there, or whatever it was that he retired. And I have all the respect in the world for people that can do that, but that's not me. I started getting bored after about 4 years, and I try to move on and accomplish something new and conquer something new. And I don't want to get to the latter days of my life, say if I'm lucky enough to get to 75 or 80 years old, I don't want to have to look back and say woulda, coulda, shoulda. I attempt to live life to the fullest, to the max, and anything I can do that I'm capable of doing, I love the challenge. So I would simply tell people, don't take no for an answer. Always believe in yourself, and if you have that belief, good things will happen.
Yeah. See, I think this is a very good point. I think a lot of people would say that very successful people, are just successful all the time and they have no obstacles. But I'm sure in your case, like with most successful people, there are obstacles that have been in your way and you sort of just plow through that. Am I correct?
Yeah, pretty much so. The world of pro wrestling is an extremely tough life. There was one point I wrestled 63 consecutive nights in a row. There's no union, so you don't have any benefits or any protection. You got to just grit your teeth and bear it. And, so I did that for 15 years. But really probably the thing that set the tone for me was when I joined the Navy and I went through what they call BUDS, Basic Underwater Demolition SEAL Team Training, because it's 5 months long. And by the time you're done being fully trained, it takes almost a full year. And when you're through with that, you have very strong self-confidence in yourself because the attrition rate at BUDS is that most classes start with about 100 to 125 people, well-qualified people, and ultimately in the end they only graduate about 25 of them. So, like today, I know all the guys I graduated with. I can't remember anyone who quit. And, the old saying, out of sight, out of mind. But really that set the stage for me of the self-confidence and understanding that, I can do certain things that maybe other people can't do all the time.
Let me move on to another topic that sort of involves your period in the Navy SEALs. Do you have any thoughts on what's going on in the Middle East, or what kind of protection was given to Ambassador Stevens or was not given to him, and just overall what's going on out there?
No, not really. I've been out of the military a long, long time now, and certainly I have my opinions on the Middle East, probably a lot different than other people. I say we get the hell out of there.
Okay.
If those people don't want us around, well, we insist on it because Our military's in the Middle East. It isn't for the people of America. It's for the multinational corporations. And that's been going on now for over 100 years. If you read the works of Major General Smedley Butler, he was the most decorated Marine in history. He won 2 Congressional Medals of Honor. And he wrote a book in the early 40s called War is a Racket. And this is last century, at the turn of the last century. He said, I didn't defend the American people. He said, I defended the United Fruit Corporation. When they would go down into Central and South America, if they didn't get cooperation, they'd send in the U.S. Marines to get it. And I think we need to wake up to that fact and looking at all these wars that we're getting involved with. They're not true wars that are protecting your freedom. We're over there protecting the corporations so that they can do their business.
Yeah. Moving on to one more question I get before we get to the book. You know, it's always fascinated me about the points you've made about when you became governor and these sort of mysterious government officials came in and took you into a room and started debriefing you.
That wasn't it at all. What happened was I was approached when I won governor by the Central Intelligence Agency. And
Okay.
they asked if I would go down into the bowels of the Capitol and get questioned. And I, being patriotic, I thought it would be interesting. So I did go down there, and it was 23 members of the CIA, and basically they wanted to know how I won the election. I'm not sure why. Was it so they could stop anyone from ever doing what I did again, or were they truly interested? My friend Dick Marcinko told me it's because they gather intelligence and they didn't see you coming. And so they probably needed to figure out how to disappear. How did this independent win the governor of Minnesota? Well, when we didn't see it coming, I could only speculate on that. It is what it is. And, that did happen. That I was questioned by 23 members of the CIA. The scary thing about that was all these 23 members looked like your neighbors. They were old men, old women, all nationalities. They looked like the normal people you'd see walking around on the street in your neighborhood, and they were all Central Intelligence agents.
Wow. Okay, now I want to get to your book, Jesse, which I think is fantastic. Can you just give me an overview of what you were trying to accomplish with this book? Because I tell you, it's an important book.
Well, I wanted to shine the light on how corrupt the Democrats and Republicans are and how they're corrupted and have destroyed our country. They make a lot of excuses, but ultimately the buck lies with them because they've been in charge for 150 years. And when you realize they've created a system of government here that is based completely upon the concept of bribery. If you do bribery in the private sector, you're arrested and you go to jail. But in the public sector, bribery's alive and well. And then on another flip side is the fact that they always tell you that competition is good, right, in the private sector. Yet they don't allow competition, like take, for example, the current presidential race. There's more than just 2 candidates out there for president. But you don't hear about them because mainstream media is bought and sold by the same corporations that own the 2 parties. So therefore, you don't hear about Libertarian candidate, former New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson, whom I will vote for, and I hope other people will follow the lead and vote for him also. You don't hear about them because, and so competition is not alive and well in our elected system. The 2 gangs or the 2 parties, they choose your president. You don't, because they pick someone from their gang and you're expected to vote on them and put them in the presidency. Well, always remember what the late, great Jerry Garcia, the Grateful Dead, said. If you're made to pick the lesser of 2 evils, it means you're still picking evil.
Right. You mentioned bribery as being part of government. In the book, you talk about something called the lobbyist safecracker method. I thought that was real interesting and enlightening. Can you talk about that a little bit, how that works?
Well, the lobbying, the biggest thing people need to know are these big corporations like GE and all that. Get this, they actually pay lobbyists more money than what they pay in taxes. Wow. Why? That should be mind-boggling to people. They pay more to lobbyists than what they pay in taxes. And the reason is so that they can get subsidies and so they don't have to pay taxes. That's the buying and selling of the Democrats and Republicans. They are owned by, and in light of our illustrious Supreme Court, which Democrats and Republicans put together, they made that ruling that corporations have the same rights as you as an individual and that money is free speech. Now get this, technically today, the country of China could choose our next president. Here's how. All China would have to do is form a corporation, and they could funnel any amount of money in supporting a particular candidate. That used to be illegal. But they, under the guise of this corporation, which no corporations are American corporations anymore, they're all multinational, these big corporations. And they could choose your next president, because the bad thing about all this money coming in, they don't have to declare it. There's not open disclosure. They don't even have to tell you who's paying them off now.
Wow. You're living part of the time outside the country. Aren't you spending part of the time in Mexico these days?
Yeah, I live roughly 4 to 5 months a year in the winter months down in Mexico. I don't like winter. I never have. I was born in Minneapolis. I don't even know how to skate. I was a swimmer, so I spent all winter in liquid water, not frozen water, so I choose to live down there. Yeah, you're absolutely correct on that.
Is there any hope for the United States?
Hope. Absolutely, there's hope. The answer to this is as simple as the nose on your face, but it would be as difficult as climbing Mount Everest. And you know what that is? Stop voting for Democrats and Republicans. We have the power. Don't vote for them. Vote for anyone else. Join me. I'm voting for former New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson, who's running under the Libertarian banner. And I urge people, don't be part of the problem, be part of the solution. And the solution is stop voting for Democrats and Republicans. Governor Johnson doesn't have a chance to win. He can't win, and voting for a third person is wasting your vote. I would counter that and say voting for a Democrat or Republican is wasting your vote, because you're going to get the same government. It doesn't matter. They've both been paid off. They've both been bought off. So you're going to get the same government either way. But the only way to get a different government is to not vote for Democrats and Republicans. So, as I say, you're wasting your vote if you vote for a Democrat or Republican.
Now, you've mentioned in your book, some of the sort of independent, wealthy people, everybody from Ross Perot to Donald Trump. It doesn't sound like you're going to expect anything out of Perot. I don't know how active he is anymore anyway. So we expect anything from anybody like Trump? What's your thinking on Trump?
No, not at all anymore, because Trump's aligned himself with the Republican Party now. He's joined one of the gangs. Trump used to be kind of an independent, but now he's a Republican. And, so he's joined the gang. So I won't support anybody that joins the gang. I didn't support Arnold Schwarzenegger the moment he became a Republican. Arnold could have ran as an independent in California and won. But the minute he joined one of the gangs, I won't support any gang member. And that's what I call them, our gangs, because in the beginning of the book, we give the Webster Dictionary definition of party. It has nothing to do with what they do. We're not a party, they're a gang. And just like a motorcycle gang. And on every motorcycle gang, be it the Hells Angels, the Mongols, the Outlaws, whoever it might be, on the back of their colors, you'll see the letters MC. You know what that stands for? Motorcycle Club. Yeah. So they want you to believe that they're like the chess club and the Spanish club and things like that, but they are what they are.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned in your book that you think the Tea Party has already been taken over by mainstream. Is that correct?
Oh, I don't. It's fact. It isn't that I think it. It's fact. The Koch brothers, those multi-billionaires, they're the money behind the Tea Party. The Tea Party initially started off grassroots, but they were absorbed. The Republican hardcore right and these big money people absorbed the Tea Party, took them over. They want you to believe it's a grassroots movement, and many of the people in it still are naive and think that it is, but it is not. Now, and the same thing happened to the Occupy Wall Street, only they didn't go for it. The Democrats tried to absorb them, but fortunately, the Wall Street protesters really didn't have any leaders, and so there's no way they could co-opt it. So, and people should support the Wall Street protesters, whether you agree with them or not, and I'll tell you why. They are simply exercising their First Amendment rights, and you should support that whether you agree with it or not, because someday you may want to exercise your First Amendment rights. And as the result of the Wall Street protests now, if you try to exercise your First Amendment rights, you can now be arrested, jailed, and you can be pepper sprayed and ran off with police dogs.
Yeah. I think you're basically saying it's better if sort of a liberty movement arises without leaders that can be co-opted and controlled and all that sort of thing.
Very much so. I've made the statement right now, and I'll make it to you. If a grassroots campaign would start, and I belong to no party, if a grassroots campaign started in all 50 states and got me as an individual on the ballot for president in 2016, and if they would continue to support and be vocal enough to ensure that I could participate in the debates, well, then I would consider running for president without any party. I would run as an individual. And if I were allowed in the debates, I would have every confidence that I would win that election.
Wow, that would be awesome. So basically, what you're saying is you don't want any kind of support from any of the establishment people. You just want a situation where if there are people that are liberty-oriented.
I will be more blunt than that. I need to see something out of the American people that will inspire me to put my ass on the line again. Is that simple enough? That's what I need to see out of this country. I need to see them break away from being lemmings and being led off the cliff. That's what I need to see. Something has to come out of the American people to show me it'll be worth it for me to put myself on the line again.
Jesse, let's set a timeline on this. By what point would you need to see some indication out of the American people for you to make it a full-fledged run? I mean, do you need to know by 2014 or what?
Well, that's why I did 2016. It would be 4 years after this election. I would need to see that at least 1 year ahead of time.
Okay.
I'd need to know that I was on the ballots in all 50 states 1 year ahead of time.
Okay.
So you'd have three years to accomplish that.
If you got elected president, what would your view be on the Federal Reserve?
Well, they're unconstitutional. Our Constitution says there shall be no central bank.
Okay. All right. I'm with you there.
And let me state this. I'm a great believer in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights. That's the fabric of our country. Those are the documents that our country's created on. If we don't respect and honor those, then our country means nothing.
Okay. Now, it sounds already, the little we've discussed about the Middle East, that as far as foreign ventures, you would pull all that back as far as the United States empire is concerned. Am I correct there?
Absolutely. We have military bases in something like 160 or more countries. For what? Why do we have multiple bases in Japan, multiple bases in Korea, multiple bases in Germany? Those wars have been over for 50 to 60 years. I would close down all these foreign bases. I would bring our young men and women home, and they would defend the United States of America, not be a world police force. And, it would be that simple. And I would also cut the defense spending because our military is so good. We spend on defense more money than the 14 top other countries do combined. What's wrong with that picture?
Yeah, exactly. Now, what about the drug war? I mean, would you roll that back?
But to me, drug legalization ends the war. I would legalize. It doesn't mean you put it out on the street in the 7-Elevens. You just let me give it to you this way. Drug use, that's a crime against yourself. In a free society, how can you possibly commit a crime against yourself?
Yeah, beautifully put, Jesse, beautifully put. What about these agencies like the Department of Education and Department of Energy and all that kind of stuff? What would you do?
I think the Department of Energy is fine. Alternative energy. Let's start going solar. Let's start going after other things rather than fossil fuel that pollutes the atmosphere. As far as the Department of Education, I would abolish it because I believe states can take care of that. And if states can't take care of their own education of their own people in their state, then that's their fault. So we don't need a federal Department of Education. States can handle that completely. Just like drug laws. Drug laws should go to the states. Let the states determine what drugs are legal or illegal. If one state wants to legalize marijuana, they should completely have the right to do so.
Okay. And Jesse, I'm going to close on this. I'm going to ask you if we should maintain the TSA or not. Tell me what you think there. The TSA, the Transportation Safety Administration.
Well,
I know you're taking it to court. already.
Yeah, well, I went to court and they threw it out.
Right.
So people need to realize this and be clear on this. When you go to any airport in the United States of America, you are not protected by the Constitution, you are not protected by the Bill of Rights, and you are not allowed to know the rules of what you can or can't do because the rules fall under national security, which you're not allowed to know. So people need to be clear on that. When you go to an airport, you have no protection. The government can do anything they want to you, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Well said, Jesse. We've been talking to Jesse Ventura, author of Democrat and Republican, No More Games in Government. It's a great book for anybody that thinks there's an answer in the Republican Party or Democratic Party. Pick up this book and it will change your mind. Jesse, thank you very much. Good luck, and let's hope that the grassroots people get out there and put you on the ballot.
Oh, thank you. And let me add this. I'll challenge anybody. Anybody that reads this book from cover to cover, if you still, after reading this book, if you still vote for a Democrat or Republican, then you are the problem. You are not the solution.
Great. Well put, Jesse.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, Robert. Have a great day.
Sure.
Thank you for listening. That's the end of this show. Be sure to check in every Sunday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time when a new show will be posted at economicpolicyjournal.com. Also, remember, check out my blog, economicpolicyjournal.com, every day. I post on the economy, I post on finance, I post on politics, and I post on liberty every day, 7 days a week. That's economicpolicyjournal.com. Don't miss it. Special shout out to Chris Rossini, executive producer of The Robert Wenzel Show, and also John Daubert, head of editing and mastering. See you and talk to you next week.